Welcome to CarePOD, a safe place to educate, inspire, and renew the caregiver. Listen in with our host, Dr. Kiplee Bell, as she interviews different experts along the caregiving journey.
So today on the CarePOD, we have a refreshing strategic growth vice president of marketing of strategic growth person with me. And I love good people. We love good leaders that, exercise their transparent leadership, energize teams, and help us to be, the authentic people that we want to be for the people that we are leading, that we're supporting, etc. So as you all know in the CarePOD, I love, I vet guests, I bring friends, and then friends reach out to me, which is really nice. So I'm happy to introduce you all to Kasey Devine. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak with you and your audience.
Yes. So I spoke with you offline about, reading your beautiful LinkedIn mission statement. And I'm asking you to do the same for our CarePOD audience, because I think it speaks to just who you are as a person and your vision for your own community. So if you could do that for us, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a mission statement just to set the table, developed because different things change at work. And you don't want to necessarily tie up your identity into saying, I'm an X of whatever your title is. And so went through this, and here's what I came up with. Grounded in faith, I coach, connect disparate ideas, form unlikely teams, and lead with an inspiring strategic vision to promote innovation, a growth mindset, and continuous improvement.
You know what resonated with me so was forming unlikely teams. That's tremendous. I mean, in this current climate where, especially in the context of age and how we redefine what aging looks like. I just had a conversation yesterday about what is corporate doing now to say, hey, my senior person on my team has so much wisdom, has put in, 30 to 40 years into this space, but now may be struggling with tech and AI. And how can we support this senior person, encouraging their wisdom for my younger cohort while making them feel very much fully present? So, across age, belief systems, you name it, we can go on and on. So tell me about that. How do we teach that? How do we encourage our leaders to say, you know what? Unlikely collaborations can be our greatest strength at times.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Bell. I think it starts with a few core beliefs that you have to internalize and wrestle with before you can ever get to that point. The first thing, and these are things that I'll own as my own beliefs, I believe that nobody is perfect, including myself. And so when you're looking to form some sort of team, you can go through, and I think it is a great thing to form some sort of job scorecard, a job description, and think of what perfect would look like. That's fine. You also have to acknowledge that you're not going to find what you just wrote on that sheet of paper at all, because that person doesn't exist. There's no such thing as perfect. So there's the first thing. The second thing, and it gets into the growth mindset, is that we as human beings are not static. We are dynamic. We are constantly changing with interests, with life changes, with environmental changes, and born knowing how to be a healthcare provider or an HR practitioner. Like that doesn't actually happen. You learn it. Everybody learns it. Even if you're better at it than somebody else, you put time in. And I firmly believe now, like, you don't want me becoming a nuclear physicist, probably, but like I can learn more than I know today. And so if you believe those things, forming unlikely teams, it becomes a strategic advantage, and it gets into what the heart of diversity really means, which is this idea that regardless of what it is that we look like, sound like, whatever that might be, if we all have the same perspective, if we all believe the same things and operate that way, What I like to say is you're going to all run off the same cliff. You're not serving anybody on the team or those stakeholders you're serving well if everybody sees things the same way. And so that's why I included in this mission statement forming unlikely teams, because I think that's where we've been able to, on teams that I've led, see better results than you would expect because we put folks in the roles that you wouldn't have expected.
Absolutely. 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 So let me reel back a bit. I ask every guest their why. So in the context of growth and stretch and so forth, how did you get here?
I'll dive right into the deep end with you, Dr. Bell. I am on a mission to change my family tree. I firmly believe that the better days are ahead for my family. I believe in the power of individual responsibility and discipline. And I know that I can make a difference and that it's not about me. And so my why is my current and my future family, and making sure that they have better opportunities than I did and that this world is a better place than where I found it.
You are fire. Okay.
Thank you.
Like, can we have a moment? I have to steal that. You are, yeah, I'm floored. You know why? Because I have to steal that too, because there's so many people that are always, you're doing so much. It's so much. It's too much, but at the end of the day, yes, we are changing our family tree. We're changing what no longer serves the generation. We are breaking the lack. We're breaking the dysfunction. We are, fostering better forms of communication. We're stretching and growing. So that is just, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Bell.
So where are we in the aging space? Do you do, what do you say to specific leaders in healthcare? I often say that, we're often the walking wounded. I don't know if COVID made that worse, but, we're an angry climate. To be in medicine in a way in which we're called to serve the frail, the diseased, etc. I'm finding that systems are creating an angry, rushed, discontented environment amongst teams, and the patients are feeling it. So what do you say to those leaders?
Well, we need to look in the mirror and point the thumb before we point the finger. I think that there's no way of saying the rest of what I'm saying without saying what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic was horrible. That being said, from a operational business perspective and the impacts there on organizations, really what it did was accelerate trends that already existed, in my opinion. I think it just hit fast forward. And why we would point the thumb is understanding that the trends that were accelerated were trends that existed in February of 2020. Now they're accelerated, and the folks who stuck their head in the sand are now feeling it in a way. When we looked at trends of workforce shortages and demographics were coming our way, when we looked at technology's ability to help so that we wouldn't have so much burnout, when we looked at different ways that we can bring an inclusive environment into the workforce, again, to form unlikely teams, none of that seemed super urgent because it was over there, off to the distance, whatever that is. And that accelerated it. And I'd say that's the first thing, is that I say this from a point of empowerment, Dr. Bell, which is, if you recognize your involvement in the situation, you also can then, kind of going back to what we were just talking about, recognize your involvement in the solution and recognize that you're not 100% helpless in getting through that. So I think the first thing we need to be doing is acknowledging that. The second thing we need to be doing is thinking with a growth mindset, which is not just acknowledging our difficulties, our lacks, our wounds, but also seeing what that means, what that has allowed us to do and opportunities thereof. It's the same reason to get outside of care for a second, that small businesses can succeed, even though there are large competitors in their environment, is because they're not focusing on the fact that they don't have millions of dollars. They're focusing on what they can do that those bigger businesses can't. We need to bring that same mindset back and reinvigorate that. I'd say the third thing is we need to open our doors, and we need to, I'd say healthcare it's like a big small town. We need to welcome some other people into our town from other industries and learn from how they have run down problems, because the common thread here as humans is that we all have problems and we will continue to. So like, maybe let's just acknowledge that our problems, while they are difficult, while they might be unique, they're not special. They're not this idea that we have these problems that nobody could possibly understand and nobody's ever overcome anything even similar. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you say borrow from other models, if you will, is that models in healthcare, or expound on that a little bit?
So my background prior to getting into healthcare was working more agnostically in the small to medium-sized business world. I would say look at the successes and the failures of venture capital-backed tech startups over the last 20 years, and how those organizations were scrappy, how those organizations grew quickly, and some of the things that they did poorly that, looking back, we really shouldn't replicate. So you could look there. From a process perspective, think about some of the engineering firms or the manufacturing firms that have what they do from an operational perspective down to a science and excellence. Like that, we can learn there. You can look at logistics of how we can get things from point A to point B. All of these industries have incorporated technology in a unique way because they also face tech shortages, or talent shortages and headwinds, just like healthcare does. So I would say remove the healthcare mask altogether and let's just poke our head up above the trees.
Yeah.
Attention, healthcare professionals. Are you looking to enhance your skills and stay ahead in your field? Look no further than our ACCME accredited CME courses. Whether you're a doctor, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner, our courses are tailored to meet your needs. Why focus on geriatric education, you ask? Because regardless of your specialty, geriatric care is becoming increasingly essential. As our population ages, the demand for competent healthcare professionals in geriatrics is higher than ever before. We don't stop there. Our courses also empower caregivers to partner with you in the care of your patients. We believe that by fostering a strong partnership between healthcare clinicians and caregivers, we can provide the best possible care for our elderly population. So join our Impactful Caregiving community today. Sign up for our ACCME accredited course instruction and take the first step towards advancing your career and making a difference in the lives of your patients.
Yeah. And in my training, there was never a point where I was taught business. So I can tell you the day when I was in with a patient and I had this obnoxious knock on the door, like, you have 15 minutes. And I remember it was literally a culture shock of, wow, medicine is a business, like, no, only, the patient only gets 2 samples, not 5, be careful of the amount of gauze that you give or the Band-Aid. So it was really jarring, yet necessary to understand that, yes, hospitals have to move forward in a business mindset. Do you think we should be concerned with AI?
That's a fun question. AI does what we ask it to do. So I think if we're concerned with AI, I will say we should be concerned with ourselves first. AI is a tool. It's
Ooh.
all it is. If again, just like what I said about some of the trends with COVID-19, AI makes things go faster. I just posted on LinkedIn this morning about AI actually, and one of the adages I'll share with you, AI, like I said, makes things go faster. If you have bad processes or they're not mission driven or value aligned, they will. It's like you're driving the Titanic, but you now put a jet engine on the back of the Titanic. If you were aimed toward the iceberg, you're just going to hit the iceberg faster and harder by deploying AI. So AI isn't the answer to anything unless you already have a system that works well manually and you understand how that works and why you would want to automate those things as opposed to having a human do it. So the answer is yes, we should be concerned with AI. I'd say if we're concerned about anything with AI, Dr. Bell, it should be our ignorance of AI. We've been talking about this, and there's been posts about it online. And if you've gone to any conferences in the last 5 years, you've sat through a talk involving AI. And just like show of hands, not literally because we can't see you, but how many folks have been there and still haven't even opened ChatGPT as like a baseline? Like learn, have the growth mindset. It's not coming, it's here. So like let's welcome it in and learn about it.
And let's examine our intent. Right. I that's what I hear. Let's examine our intention for one another, our intention for the systems that we implement in our business, in our way, in the ways in which we communicate as well. Wow. So anyone in the aging space, grandpop, grandmom, any personal adage that you have that guides your way in business?
It does. So I think in the aging space and healthcare overall, this is where I will look at the other side of what we were discussing earlier, which is we are not just doing this to create widgets. We are doing this to care for people. And there is a business aspect of it. I learned the business aspect of my hopes and dreams when I got into the workforce as a young sport management major, started working for some of my favorite brands that I just glorified in childhood, just to come to realize that while those organizations are fantastic, they're businesses. And really what I saw that allure was marketing. And so if we're thinking about that in context of aging and healthcare overall, the difference is that this is someone's life. And as hard as it can be to be present, especially when workloads are getting more and more and resources can dwindle, the person you are looking at, talking about, caring about, whoever that is, you need to picture that as being you or a relative every time, because it will be you or a relative at some point. And we need to take that personal responsibility. That's a tall ask. But I will say, if that's not something that we're willing to shoulder, there are plenty of other industries where our talents can be utilized. So that's the adage I think of why care about this is not, it is a business. It is not just another business. Does that?
Yeah. And, it's very interesting because that's the challenge I have in my own space, that, growing older is sexy. It's cool. It's, but even since a young woman, I have been drawn to older people, and that layer of, how do you say, that non-judgmental space that one journeys through, that they don't care about the pomp and circumstance, and it's just a true, authentic, pure space. And I often struggle with, why does our society not value that role when we're all headed in the same direction, essentially?
I think it's something, the key of what your question was our society. And I won't try to instill my own personal beliefs in this answer, but our society today, because for this isn't something that's debatable, for the clear majority of human existence on Earth, that was not the case. We revered folks who were aging. We discussed aging, we discussed death. And I think that is something relatively contemporary. That is a trend. I don't know that the answer is going to be fast forwarding on what got us into that position. I think it might be taking a step backwards and learning from the past. And again, I think it's pride of saying that, hey, we can learn from the past and not just that it was all horrible. There were some good things, and maybe this is a sign that we threw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last moments, tell me what you would impart to the CarePOD audience. Do you do consulting for corporate spaces, speaking? Tell me about how one would connect with you.
Sure. I'm most active on LinkedIn. I represent an organization called ProCare HR. We're an HR managed services firm, really exclusively for healthcare providers, typically more so for senior housing operators, either for-profit or non-for-profit, although we do work with other organizations as well. And really, we're trying to answer this whole HR and workforce thing without getting into it in a way that is more than difficult to do as you're running an organization in that space. I'm one of several really caring people that work for our organization and work alongside of operators in that part of healthcare. And so I'm not unique there. So if you do that, look me up on LinkedIn, but more importantly, go to our website, which is procarehr.com, and take a look at what it is we're up to and some of the folks that we have on our team. And you'll see that I am just one of many folks who are very passionate about this space and making a difference.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for reaching out. The CarePOD community is a special group, as you know, near and dear. So I appreciate having valuable guests that can extend their expertise and their heart for this space. So I appreciate it.
Dr. Bell, it's an honor. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody listening for caring for other people. It's a great thing, and keep it up.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Great information right from the source. For more information on how to caregive like a boss, check out impactfulcaregiving.com. Want to be a guest on the show? Contact us at CarePOD at impactfulcaregiving.com.